Things are continuing to get out of hand in Canada, and it's getting to the point where people are asking why the government isn't deploying any form of emergency acts. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. I hope you guys had a great weekend, and I hope you're having a wonderful day today as we start our Monday morning off right with some good old-fashioned awful news. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Israel Palestine situation, and I know I had said before I didn't want to get into it. People ask me all the time, what side do you sit with? Like, people point out what's going on with Ben Shapiro and Dr. Jordan Peterson. They point out, everything being discussed out there in the public saying, where do you side on this? I tell them every time, I side with Canada. I think we should stay out of it. But now it's gotten to a point where we no longer can do that. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about today. When you look at mass immigration, and I know a lot of people point out that mass immigration is a huge problem in this country. To my surprise, we haven't seen any of the leaders that are running for their seat in the next election talk about the immigration problem that Canada faces. Now, this has nothing to do with race. This has to do with everything with our country looking after itself and out for its best interests in order to improve life for everyone living here. But what we're seeing now is with the rising population of Palestinians, Israelis that are in the country, well, anytime a war erupts like we're seeing in the Middle East right now, that war tends to come over to Canadian soil. Now, last week, of course, there were reports of Justin Trudeau in Vancouver, where he was actually chased out of a restaurant by pro-Hamas protesters, I believe, pro-Palestinian protesters. Now, if I've got that wrong, I apologize. I'm under the impression that they're Palestinian protesters. They were demanding a ceasefire. They're demanding that Justin Trudeau call for a ceasefire. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the video, but it had to come down to over 100 police officers being called in to help get the Prime Minister to safety. Now, when you look at Justin Trudeau's spending and when you look at his security detail that's already in place, if these kind of things are going to happen in public, how much is that going to cost the Canadian taxpayer when he ups his security, when he needs hundreds of foot soldiers as apparently to follow him around the country at his side at all times in order to ensure his safety? I wanted to get into this one video that was brought over by Rebel News on November 16th, so 4 days ago. Pro-Palestinian protesters have blockaded the largest commuter bridge in Montreal. Will Trudeau call them a fringe minority and freeze their bank accounts like he did with the Freedom Convoy? This is the question I've been asking ever since this happened. I put out a tweet about this. Again, I try not to really get involved when it comes to this subject because it's one of those, no matter what side you choose, you end up making enemies. So with this, again, I'm not going to debate who's right and who's wrong, but the problem here... Well, cut the audio there just so we can continue commentary, but you can see here they're blocking the commuter bridge with their protest. Now, again, we've seen something similar like this with the Windsor Bridge in Ontario during the Freedom Convoy, where the bridge to, I believe it's Detroit, was blocked off by truckers. Now, those truckers who blocked those bridge, we've heard numerous times that that was a separate entity from the Freedom Convoy, that it was a group of truckers that, wanted to make an impact similar to the people who protested at other borders like Coutts in Alberta. So they went and blocked the bridge. And of course, the police had to move in, Justin Trudeau invoking the Emergencies Act because of whatever reasons that I'm certainly going to say were not necessary. But it begs to question, where is the Emergency Act here? When the Prime Minister is being chased out of restaurants, where are we seeing any form of an emergency act being? His safety is at risk. Now, I dislike Justin Trudeau very much. I think there's no secret to that on this channel. But when it comes to Justin Trudeau, he's still the Prime Minister of this country, and to attack him in public, I will certainly never advocate for physical violence on anyone, including the Prime Minister of Canada. I don't live like that. I don't believe in blood for blood. I think that the justice system, which is very corrupt, needs to be readjusted, and charges need to follow, and people who break the law need to be punished to the fullest extent of it. Physical violence is never the answer, but with things escalating, I guess I'm getting to the point where I'm wondering, like, we've seen many protests in places like Toronto, Vancouver, with high Muslim populations, as well as high Israeli populations, that are pushing back and forth. And if these kind of wars go to Canadian streets, what's that going to do for the safety of everyday Canadians that really don't want any part in this proxy war that's going on? Of course, as we scroll down, we can see here the video.
Shame on you! You have blood on your hands! Call for a ceasefire! Call for ceasefire! Call for ceasefire! You have blood on your hands! You have blood on your hands! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! You fund genocide!
Mr. Prime Minister, how many more kids?
Justin Trudeau, you fund genocide!
How many more kids, Mr. Prime Minister? How many more kids have to die?
You fund genocide, Justin Trudeau! Look at us! Look at us! Look at us, Justin Trudeau! Answer for your crimes! You are killing kids! Ceasefire now! 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 Shame on you, Justin! Now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire! Justin Trudeau, answer us! Answer us! Answer us! Ceasefire now!
So again, we see here as things continue to escalate. It's no surprise that Justin Trudeau, he can't go anywhere without being heckled these days. We've seen it anywhere he goes. There's usually a crowd outside heckling him, but when you go to a point of actually walking in where the man is having dinner and pulling him out of there. Now, again, I'm not advocating for Justin Trudeau, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't think I'm taking his side here. What I'm worried about here is the safety of Canadians. Everyday Canadians. This is a terrible thing that's happening in the Middle East. Again, I'm not going to draw lines, and I'm not going to say where people should stand. Again, I support Canada, and that's part of the reason I've done this video, is that Canada needs to look after Canada. And I guess you've now got people who were advocating for bringing all of these immigrants over to Canada who are now saying deport them all because, well, they brought them here for means of virtue signaling, for means of gaining their seats. You bring people into the country as refugees, of course, they're going to vote for you in the next election. It's no secret that we've seen that with Justin Trudeau in the past. And it's kind of one of those go woke, go broke situations where we're starting to see the left eat their own. When it comes to religion, I was always told that there's three arguments in life you're never going to win: religion, politics, and everything else. Religion being the most viable one. And that's part of the reason, again, I don't take straws in this event that's going on. I don't draw sides because I don't have the same understanding of the consequences and ordeals going on in that part of the country as people who actually live there and understand their religions better than I would. But when it comes to, again, the safety of Canadians, I have to question after watching, I guess you could call them protests in the Brampton area 2 weeks ago, where protesters on both sides of Israel and Palestine were throwing rocks at each other across large crowds, and police had to break up the protests. As things ramp up, as things continue to get worse and worse, what is it going to take for the Liberal government and for Justin Trudeau to stand up and say, maybe we need to think about an Emergencies Act, maybe we need to think about deportation, maybe we need to think about real consequences beyond catch and release for individuals that are going to bring harm to the streets? I am a very firm believer in the right to protest. I think that so long as you're protesting peacefully, you have a right to have your voice heard in this country. I believe that whether you're an immigrant or whether you're a Canadian citizen, the Charter of Rights should often protect the right to peaceful protest. We're not seeing it here in terms of hypocrisy when it comes to what Justin Trudeau did to a bunch of truckers that were just simply parked in the streets with bouncy castles versus people hurling rocks at each other and physically disrupting him and putting his security at risk in public. So I guess my question to the public is, what do you guys think? How far is this going to need to go? Are you worried about your safety? Have you seen protests in your own towns? Are you seeing them escalate? And do you think that it's going to result in violence? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that subscribe button to do all the usual YouTube stuff, share, comment it out, and also click your bell for notifications to join us here on the channel every Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time when we do the weekly wrap, and we hang out here and talk about everything that's happened in the last week, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some Q&A with our community. And it's nice because I get to know you guys outside of making these videos, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. I hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.